Medicare is one of two decisions you have to make, the other one being Social Security. And now we're going to get to Part B. Part B is definitely a decision that will be triggered at whether you're triggering it at 65 or you're triggering it after 65 because of the fact that you're working for an employer with over 20 employees. Part B is going to be everything to do with outpatient doctor visits, including in the hospital, annual wellness visits like flu shots, clinical lab visits, services, x-rays, MRIs, all the testings that go on, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech language therapy, diabetes screenings, mental health care, durable medical equipment will come into play as well, ambulatory surgical center services, so all that outpatient matters that go on. And this is very clear because Medicare is the medical system is starting to create and do more stuff on an outpatient basis. That's why it's important that we understand what this is all about. Then fast facts is there's a monthly premium for this. You cannot be denied coverage, and coverage is nationwide. As we said with Part A, Part B is the same thing. Any provider that accepts Medicare. So if you're going to a doctor or a clinic across the country that takes Medicare, you're in good standing. There is a premium penalty for late enrollment. So again, it goes back to the enrollment period discussion that we had. Make sure you're getting enrolled in the right time, because if you don't, then there may be a penalty that takes place as well. So remember that Medicare in itself, this is Medicare A and Medicare B, does not cover prescription drugs. It does not cover routine dental or hearing care. It doesn't include eyeglasses. And it certainly doesn't include long-term care. We've talked about that. There may be excessive charges that doctors who don't accept Medicare may decide to attach, and then we'll talk about that as well. And it certainly is care received outside the U.S. except for certain circumstances, okay? And so those are things to consider when you jump over into your Medicare and U-Book, okay? Medicare and U-Book, you can jump back over to about page 29. And as you jump into 29, you will see that Medicare Part B services are outlined there. And it'll outline some of the preventative services that Medicare will be able to service you with. And those are good things to note too, by the way. Bone mass measurements, cardiac rehabilitation, a lot of behavioral health integration services. There's a lot of preventative stuff that is included in this Part B. And it's good to know these things, particularly, like I said, keep that book handy as we go along. Now let's jump into taking some notes, shall we? Because we want to take notes along the way, and we try to make things simple. So there's our notepad. Let's talk about Part B, right? So we talked about Part A. Let's go back to our Part A. Part A is that hospitalization piece, right? And now let's talk about Part B. As mentioned earlier, is the outpatient. All things outpatient. So it's the doctor visits, the therapies that go on, right? Those are things that are being done in outpatient. Now, with Part B, you will see there is a deductible once per year. As I say with my clients, if you're seeing the doctor in January and just going in to see the doctor, why you could be very well possible you got to clear that Medicare deductible, $180, $190. It keeps going up. That is a deductible once per year, and you got to pay that on original Medicare, right? And then you're going to also have Medicare is going to cover, in the outpatient scenario, they're going to cover 80% of the bill, which is going to leave you with 20% of the bill. Now, I want to highlight this 20% in the gaps, in the medical expenses that happen. This is a big deal. You're on the hook for 20% of the bill in an outpatient setting. I'm going to actually hit that with some highlighting as well, because that's a good one to know. Now, this little deductible is another one here, but that is something you have to understand, that if you have original Medicare, and I am surprised at how many people do have just straight original Medicare, how much of a hook that is for the 20%. You know, one time I had a client that was going through outpatient cancer therapy, right? That's all being done on an outpatient cancer treatment center. That is 20% of the hook every single day. If you're on original Medicare, consider the fact that you're on the hook for 20%. Furthermore, if you check into it, you may be denied services if you don't have additional coverage beyond just straight Medicare, because the facility doesn't want to be on the hook for 20% of the bill all the way through. So be very careful about that idea there. You have a premium that you're going to end up paying. You know, it may be $164. It may be, again, that is going to be determined by what year you're looking at here. But interesting enough, there is something called IRMA, which is going to be, and you can look that up, where that is going to be income test means. So if you have a higher income, you may be charged more dollars for this Part B premium. All right, I'm going to highlight in a different color here, just so that this premium sitting here. Everybody generally has a certain amount, but then if you make more than the allotted, this is going to be you're going to pay a higher premium during those higher income years that you have. So that is Part B. I'm hoping your notes are following along with what I've got right here. Again, I always refer people over into the Medicare and You book, and you can thumb through that, looking at all the different services that are sitting there, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. By these notes tend to help people as well as to understanding Medicare. By understanding this Medicare, I'm going to share further ideas as we advance on here on how to take care of this in a very, very affordable manner and still have great coverage. And so with that should wrap up our little portion on Part B as a chapter. And we are now going to move into the next chapter of what is Part D, why they make it so confusing with these letters. I try to disseminate that. So let's jump into that in the next chapter, and we'll see you there.